Welcome into the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. Let's talk some Texans. CJ Stroud and a bunch of his first team teammates are going to be playing in New Orleans against the Saints. Is that the correct move that the Houston Texans should make this weekend as they wrap up the preseason? The latest area where CJ Stroud has grown as a quarterback, your questions and so much more. We'll get to it all here on the stream tonight. If you're watching live, I certainly appreciate you. Hit that chat. And let's talk about it throughout the course of the evening. If you're watching after the fact, the comment section down below stays live as well. And of course, I'd appreciate a thumbs up on the video, a subscription. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, we are so close to 3,000 subscribers. It's kind of an arbitrary number, but it's a nice round number. We're so close to those 3,000 subscribers. So I would appreciate it if you could help me get there. We're going to have some fun tonight. How about a crack of a cold one for all the working men and women out there, all the folks out there putting in time week in, week out. It's the middle of the week. It's almost the weekend. Let's talk a little Texans as I'm wrapping up my birthday. Headed into year 34. Got to be a good one. No other choice. 34. You got Earl Campbell. You got Nolan Ryan. You got Hakeem Olajuwon. Got to be good in year 34 here on this great earth. The opportunity, the blessings that I have. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Let's talk some Texans, shall we? Let's talk a little bit about CJ Stroud and a bunch of his first-team teammates playing in this preseason game on Sunday. D'Amico Ryans was asked point blank, is CJ Stroud going to be the first quarterback to run out there on Sunday? And D'Amico very quickly just said, yes, he is. So then he went on to say, hey, we're going to play some of those first-team guys. Everybody's going to play, which is the comment that he made ahead of the Dolphins game. So I would expect to see CJ Stroud, along with that first-team offensive line that is left to right, Laramie Tunsil, Kenyon Green, Juice Scruggs, Shaq Mason, and for now, George Fant. I'd expect to see Robert Woods, Nico Collins on the field. If healthy, and he returned to practice today, I'd expect to see Tank Dell out there with Noah Brown. And I wouldn't expect to see them for a very long time. D'Amico Ryan said on the press conference as well, hey, thinking about 2 series for these guys. So my question to you, and the question I've been asking myself all day, is this the correct decision for the Houston Texans? Is this the right way to approach this final preseason game? And ultimately, I've landed on yes. When those joint practices went away, when the opportunity to put together 30, 40, 50 specialized situational reps, each of those 2 joint practice days went away, it behooves the organization to get their rookie quarterback about 12, 15, 18 snaps if he has 2 nice long drives, or at the very worst, I suppose 6 or 9 snaps if he goes 3 and out 3 times. It's a positive for the organization to get CJ Stroud those reps in this game, give him the opportunity to go out there in the Superdome. It's going to be a preseason game, but that's a rowdy crowd. He's going to face a rowdy crowd in Baltimore in week 1. Just go out there and continue to get comfortable, continue to get used to playing at the NFL level, get used to calling the plays, get used to execution, clean up a thing or 2 from last week's, making sure that you don't have an issue on any of the snaps like we saw in the preseason game against the Dolphins, making sure that when you look up and you see the play clock and it's down to 1 second and Andrew Beck's still moving in motion, boom, hit the timeout. Don't lose yourself 5 yards there and put yourself off of 3rd and 1 into 3rd and 6 from the 6-yard line, So that's something that CJ Stroud could potentially learn from in this game. And the best thing that could happen is Stroud shows up in New Orleans, runs out there with the first team and makes it look, pardon my pun, big easy. A touchdown drive would be awesome. If CJ Stroud and the first team offense go out there and have a touchdown drive on the opening drive that they have on Sunday, then put him on the bench, put him in bubble wrap, get him ready for Baltimore. Yes, I understand that there exists a possibility that CJ Stroud, another starter, could get injured in this 3rd preseason game. I will go as far as to say that the reward for playing well in these reps, getting the experience, and having these reps under his belt ahead of Baltimore far outweighs the risk of, one of these Saints players, landing on his ankle or rolling up on him or, falling the wrong way into Laramie Tunsil or something of that nature. The injury risk exists no matter what. These guys can get hurt in practice. That's probably best evidenced by 2017 when Deshaun Watson's knee exploded in practice. So these guys can get hurt in practice. They're not going to go out there scared to get hurt. They're going to go out there. They'll play 2 series. That's their work for the day. And then you get Davis Mills, a lot of the backups. D'Amico Ryan specifically mentioned a lot of the young guys. So I would think there's opportunities there for John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, and some other players. You get those guys in there. You get them some work. It's good to get those 20-ish or so, you hope, plays under C.J. Stroud's belt. And then he finishes the preseason with about 50, 60 preseason reps, if you can get to that number. So about 50 to 60 preseason game reps to go along with 2 joint practices and all the work that they've put together in practice. That should be enough to have a good baseline, a good starting place for C.J. Stroud. Look, Baltimore is going to be tough. It doesn't matter if he had 0 snaps or 1,000 snaps ahead of Baltimore. It's going to be tough going on the road week 1 playing the Baltimore Ravens. That won't be easy, okay? But a couple of snaps against New Orleans gets him the work, gets him ready for Baltimore, just that little bit more. And we'll talk here in just a moment about some of the improvements that C.J. Stroud has made in just a week. In just a week, the improvements have shown up, but I do want to get to some of your comments. In the meantime, appreciate everybody weighing in the comment section. If you have a question and I don't get to it here, maybe I have put a star and we'll get to it at the Q&A a little bit later on in the show, or we will try to put together the question here right now. Brandon asks, oh yeah, well, you got a Miller Lite, Budweiser King of Beers guy myself. I have a unnamed beer in my Texans draft party koozie. I have an unnamed beer, but it could be your beer right here. And I could be talking about it right here on this YouTube. So if you run advertising for a beer company, we could be taking this koozie off and be talking about your beer right here on the live stream. But it is domestic light and cold for right now. That's what I prefer. That's what I prefer. Jeffrey says, don't forget the 3-4 defense. I assume you mean what the Saints are going to do against C.J. Stroud. Yeah, it's nice to see. Look, that's a talented Saints defense. It's older, but there's some talent there. It's useful to see them, and it's an older style of defense too. Dennis Allen's been around the block a little bit. There's not a lot of new stuff to it. So let's see what it brings to the table. Oh, Spencer K weighing in here. Hi, Cody, one of your international fans here in North Wales, UK. Great to catch you live for a change. Happy birthday. Love your work. Go Texans. Spencer, appreciate you weighing in from North Wales, UK. That's awesome. That's awesome. I have on the back end of Houston football, my website where I do all my writing about the Houston Texans, and there's a link in the description down below. We have free subscriptions where you get some of the content, and for the low price of just $7 a month, you get all the content and more at Houston Football, www.houfootball.com. I have a ability to look at a map where all the subscribers are to Houston Football, and I can see not only where they are across the United States, but where they are across the world as well. And so I was counting the other day just because I was curious. I feel like we're in about 30-ish or so states. There's some northern areas that don't have much Texans coverage or any Texans fans, but we're in a lot of states across the United States, and we're in a surprising amount of countries. I know we have some listeners from the Philippines, obviously the Wales. Folks from Wales have weighed in. We have listeners in the Netherlands here on the YouTube page. So it's fantastic. I appreciate everybody weighing in on the variety of things. Thank you all very much for the birthday wishes. It means a lot. Everybody should like their birthday. It's, at some point. Jim asks, have you tried Troy Aikman's beer called 8? Yes, he sent some to the radio station and did a radio interview with Jake Asman, BK, and myself on the Wheelhouse back in the day. Pretty good. Pretty good. If you're listening, Troy, we could be making a big conversation about the 8 beer. The 3-4. Yeah, the 3-4 birthday and 3-4 defense. Say, whatever works. Do they play it? I say 3-4. Do they play a 3-4? I guess so. It's an old defense, so it'd be good to catch a glimpse of the old stuff. They got a little bit more modern defense there in Baltimore after they got rid of old Wink Martindale before last year and brought in the Michigan guy. Epic Tree, I'll answer this, so we'll get to some more CJ Stroud here in just a second. How does Stingley look? Do you think D'Amico will get more out of him than Lovey? Happy birthday. Epic Tree, appreciate you. I know you mentioned this the first time you're catching the show live. Thank you for weighing in. Stingley's looked good. I mean, has he been amazing every practice? Is he making every single play? No, but corners don't do that. Corners don't make every single play. But the plays that he has made have looked really nice. And there have been moments where, sure, a guy's gotten a rep off here. There are moments where quarterbacks can't throw the ball that way because he's got guys so covered so well. So Stingley's looked nice in training camp, and absolutely you're going to get more out of Stingley with D'Amico Ryans calling the shots than Lovey Smith. Terrence, I'm going to star that for a little bit later on. Brandon, I'm going to star that for a little bit later on. Johnny asks a question. Are you still going to be at the game in New Orleans? I'm not actually going to make it to the game. The initial plans were, hey, be there for the joint practices. And then I have an obligation on Sunday, and I'm still going to be able to watch the game, still going to be able to pay attention to the game. But I have an obligation on Sunday. It's, I believe, the 13th year of my fantasy football draft. It's the only day that all of us could get together with the variety of things going on in our lives. My buddy Landry Locker, who I hope you follow here on YouTube, is in that league. We've got some other big time, media guys. We got some just, Joe Schmoes in the league too, not professional media people. And heck, those guys have won more than Landry and I, though Landry and I have won 2 of the last 3 championships. Yes, I got my big fantasy draft, and then I'm going to be able to watch the game actually with Landry, and then we'll both have plenty of content here across on YouTube for you as well. David, I'm going to star that. We'll get to that in a little while, but I want to talk a little bit about the latest area of growth for CJ Stroud. Stroud's latest area of growth is a really interesting one because it showcases a deep grasp of the playbook. It showcases a deep grasp of the offense. And it gets me really excited that in roughly a week's time, we've already seen a jump in this area of CJ Stroud's game. Now, I'm going to need some help setting this up. I go to my good friend Damian Pierce, who last week at the podium talked a little bit about something in the development of CJ Stroud, and I'll explain why Pierce's comment from a week ago is interesting today after you hear from the Texans starting running back.
Right now he's working. That's one thing I can say about CJ. He's working every day to get in that playbook, getting those calls out. It really ain't the plays, it's the calling. You get a little tongue-tied sometimes, but, we're going to be all right.
So it's not the execution of the plays. It's in the headset, Bobby Slowick talking to CJ Stroud spitting it out to the players. And Damian Pierce like, gets a little tongue-tied sometimes. The hard part is getting the play call out. And so that was a week ago, okay? That was a week ago. Obviously, we also saw in the preseason game, Stroud with the delay of game. Maybe that has something to do with the getting the play call out as well. But today in the locker room, we were talking with Dalton Schultz, and Schultz started talking about CJ Stroud and how complicated these play calls are for the quarterback and how well at this point in the preseason and this point of his professional football career, Stroud has got it down. The way he's getting the play calls out. And Schultz mentioned, hey, sometimes these calls are a few lines long. And he said even sometimes the play call comes in and there's instructions for every single pass catcher in the play call. So not just, hey, we're running this play and everybody knows what they're doing. Like Stroud is, hey, we're running this play. This is the formation. This wide receiver does this. This wide receiver does this. Dalton Schultz, you do that. Andrew Beck, you do that. Dameon Pierce, you do that. And Schultz talked about how, hey, that's something that's really progressed with CJ Stroud. And I'm like, a week ago, Dameon Pierce was like, yeah, sometimes he gets tongue-tied. And now a week later, Dalton Schultz, who's played on the top offense in football twice with Dak Prescott, is like, hey, actually, this is something that's really awesome about CJ Stroud to this point. This is a big area of growth. This is something where he's jumped up a big level. And that was something that was really exciting to me because it's not just, hey, I'm spitting the play out, like I'm able to hear it and then regurgitate it. A lot of us could hear it and regurgitate it, but it's hear it, know what it means. I think we've talked about this on the channel a lot. Bobby Slowick's ability to instill exactly why and how they want to operate each of these plays is a really important aspect of exactly why Bobby Slowick has approached installing the offense this way. So not only to hear it from Slowick, regurgitate it in a way where everybody understands it, gets their assignment, and then go out there and be able to execute it, because we saw execution. Okay, we saw execution against the Dolphins. Hopefully we see execution for a touchdown against the Saints. That, to me, was one of the huge things that jumped out to me, talking with the players, talking with D'Amico Ryans on Wednesday about this Texans team. Is a week ago, Dameon Pierce was like, yeah, sometimes he fumbles over the words. And today, Dalton Schultz, who's a veteran, going into his 6th year in the league, and he's like, yeah, actually, this is something CJ does really well now. It's like, wow. In less than a week, boom. It's those small steps, man. It's those small steps. And it's so cliche sometimes when we hear the 1% better, do this, do that, like just get a tiny bit better each day. But if you do that enough, I'm trying to lose some weight. If I lose half a pound every day, by the end of the month, I've lost a tremendous amount of weight for a month, and I've done so much more. Like, by the end of the year, like, it's so cliche, but it's so true. Like, Stroud just gets a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And instead of, one of those days where he doesn't take a step forward, just don't take a step back. That's one of the important elements of CJ Stroud. And that's been one of the impressive elements of his growth. Is it's been weeks since we've seen any sort of step back. Mistakes that he's making are a lot of times first-time mistakes. Messed up the snap. What do I do with it? Actually, I make a great play and don't turn it into 2nd and long and turn it into 1st down and long, and we have an opportunity to move the ball a little bit more. I didn't call timeout when the play clock was going down. Maybe I can call timeout next time and we can still operate from the 1-yard line. Like, it's not repeat mistakes. That's one of the biggest elements of Davis Mills this season, was he made repeat mistakes last year. Stroud, when he does make mistakes, it's not the same old mistake. He's able to work through them. And a week ago, he's not getting the play calls out smooth. And now Dalton Schultz a week later is like, yeah, actually, this is something he's really good at. So I love seeing that. JR, man, that generosity is incredible, man. Thank you. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for the birthday wish. Thank you for the super chat. That is awesome, man. Thank you. That's very cool. It's very generous of you. Thank you. And that's all I've got from big observations. I did see a question that I wanted to get to, and we'll get to your questions now. But I did see a question that I really wanted to get to because it went into something that I wrote about the other day, and I'm trying to find the comment here, and it's Juan put it in there. Where do you think Jonathan Taylor is going? So this is actually a super important element of the Houston Texans season. I feel like the line between where the Texans are and the Colts are is literally Jonathan Taylor big. Like, I truly believe the Colts are only better than the Houston Texans if they have Jonathan Taylor on their team. This guy was one of the best players in football 2 years ago. 2 years ago, he had 20 touchdowns and led the all rushers by over 600 yards. There was 600 yards between him and number 2. He was an absolute freak. And the NFL Top 100, his peers, because that's who votes on the NFL Top 100, they voted him the 5th best player in football, a running back. Yes, last year sucked for Jonathan Taylor. It didn't look good at times. That last 4 games he played 1 snap and then didn't play the rest of the game in his last game of the season. But the 4 games before that, the final 4 games where he actually played, it looked a lot like Jonathan Taylor from 2021. It wasn't exactly like that, but it looked a lot like that. Now you're sitting here with an offensive genius head coach. You've got a rookie quarterback that needs a good rushing attack, and that offensive line is healthier and a bit more experienced than it was throughout the course of 2022. And the Colts are looking around thinking to themselves, yeah, we don't need to pay. Nah, forget Jonathan Taylor. We're not paying him. Now, if Taylor's asking an absolutely crazy amount, yeah, you got to have a conversation where you can knock him down to a reasonable amount. But if I'm Jonathan Taylor, yeah, I'd be asking for Christian McCaffrey money because 2 years ago, I had an incredible season that almost no running back can have. Like, that is a wild situation in Indianapolis that they're just not going to pay what I believe is the best player on their team and what I also believe is one of the 3 best players in the division. Like, they're just going to flat out not pay him. And then they're going to trade him for something that can't help them in 2023. The Colts had 1 more win than the Texans last year. 1 more win. Like, that's it. They were 1 win better. And it's crazy to me that they're going to go out there with a rookie quarterback who has accuracy problems, who might get frazzled because he got frazzled on his first drive in the preseason where he tried to play NFL blitz and jump and throw the ball sidearm. Like, they're not going to have Jonathan Taylor there to just calm him down and hand the ball to Taylor and get 5 yards a pop. That's what he's capable of. Like, he's capable of averaging 5.5 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry. Like, that's what Taylor can do when he's at his best. It's wild to me that the Colts are not going to pay this man. I just am baffled by the decision-making that organization is going through. And if I was the Buffalo Bills, I know that the money's a little tight in Buffalo. If I was the Buffalo Bills, I'd be calling. The Miami Dolphins seemed pretty interested in getting Dalvin Cook. Well, with Dalvin Cook out of there, I'd call, or Dalvin Cook on the Jets, excuse me. I'd call the Colts about Jonathan Taylor if I was Miami. Here's what I know. If he gets traded, he's not getting traded in the division. Derrick Henry's on the Titans. Travis Etienne is on the Jaguars, and the Texans wouldn't invest in him. And they wouldn't trade him. They hopefully would not trade him in division, I think is probably their thought process. And so you're sitting around, you're like, well, he's going to be out of the AFC South. Like, this guy that could have, terrorized this division for the next couple of years is all of a sudden going to be out of the AFC South. Sign me up for that. See you later. See you later. I'm trying to find a landing spot for him that makes a lot of sense. I mean, Chicago's got a tremendous amount of money. They've also got 2 running backs that they brought in this year in Roschon Johnson as a draft pick, Deontay Foreman as a free agent. Khalil Herbert's a nice player. They've still got those guys on the roster. I mean, Minnesota just got rid of a big-time running back. And nobody in the NFC South is going to make that investment. I mean, I suppose the Saints could think about it, but they're always tight on money. And then nobody in the NFC West, like the trade market may not be there. And that might have been part of the Colts operation is, yeah, go find your money. Go find it. Oh, no one in the NFL is going to pay you what you want. Oh, by the way, everybody already got their running back squared away. Oh, okay. So you're stuck in Indianapolis. And you either play and get your money, or you don't play and we claim that you're faking an injury, and then we fight you for every penny that we're paying you. Because at this point, why wouldn't they fight Jonathan Taylor? Why wouldn't they go after him? So, 2 years ago, he's one of the best players in football. He has one down year. Yes, he's probably asking for way too much, but you cannot tell me that the Colts can't find enough money to make him happy while still being comfortable with the amount. You can't tell me that. So, see you later. If he's out, then see you later. Thank you once again to JR, man. I hope I say thank you enough. I appreciate you popping in and putting that super chat together. Johnny says, I think Jonathan Taylor stays in Indy and fights for a new contract 2024. He has no other choice. Chicago, maybe, but I don't know. Here's another disgusting aspect of the Jonathan Taylor situation. Let's say he comes in here, plays absolutely out of his mind, and is headed for free agency. What do the Colts do? Boom, franchise tag. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, you're stuck on the franchise tag. So you either play under the franchise tag, or we'll do a little Saquon for you. We'll do a little bump, get you a little bit more. Or, Taylor says, oh, okay, you guys want to play that game? Cool. Well, I'm not signing any contract that allows you to tag me again. And then he's got to, in theory, Jonathan Taylor's got to play awesome for two consecutive years, or he's got to get some sort of extension or deal or something put together where he can't get franchise tag. Because if he balls out this year for the Indianapolis Colts, they will franchise tag him at the end of the year. He will not be an unrestricted free agent. And then at that point, it's a conversation about, well, who's going to trade for him? How much would they give up? All those different things. Jim says, I see Taylor traded to Denver. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about Denver. Javonte Williams, probably not the same guy coming back from the injury. Samaje Perine is the backup there. And he's better than both those guys. Even a healthy Javonte Williams, he's better than him. That's a good one. It's a good one. Yes, if you didn't see this story, Jim Irsay was trying to save a whale. He was going to fly the whale across the country, but the whale died before Irsay could save him. So it's a sad story, I guess. Sad story. Jerome Kicks, Texans can use Taylor. Need speed on offense. Pierce, nice, just doesn't have breakaway speed. I wanted Jonathan Taylor in the draft a couple years ago, but Bill O'Brien's a dumbass. He decided to have David Johnson and spend that pick on Ross Blacklock. Jonathan Taylor would have been awesome for Bill O'Brien. And my God, Jonathan Taylor would have been perfect for this offense. Now, you're probably a little bit better if you have Jonathan Taylor instead of Ross Blacklock from a few years ago. So, I've wanted Taylor for a long time. They're going to trade him to the Texans. And if they want a second round pick, is your only pick in the first 64 selections going to be the Browns pick? That's tough. That's tough. Sean G says, Pittsburgh, it's not the craziest thing. Pittsburgh made that Minkah Fitzpatrick trade a couple of years ago. So it's not the craziest thing in the world. I just wonder if because they have Najee, Jalen Warren's a nice backup, they're content to just kind of have, because remember, you trade for him, you got to give up compensation and you have to pay him, because why would he show up to play for somebody else under the money that he doesn't like? So, yeah, Joe Blue, worst position to play to be treated like poo. Yeah, it's tough, man. These guys, they're one of the best players on their team one year, and then the next year it's like coaches are like, oh, hold on now. No, we're not paying you. Oh, you wanted us to pay you? No. That's not happening. That's what those coaches say sometimes. James Shaw weighs in with the super chat here. Appreciate you. He asked Cody off topic, what happened with the Wheelhouse / Jake? Well, I left the station to operate Houston football as well as do the YouTube shows full time, cover the Texans full time. BK left the station to cover the University of Texas, and he started, his YouTube channel. And if you're a Longhorn fan, you should subscribe to that. If you are a BK fan, you still get a lot of BK and his BK-isms. It's called Texas Sports Unfiltered. I'll put it in the comments for you if you're interested in that. And then, Jake in the station parted ways. That's his story to tell however he'd like to tell it. And, that's what the public comments are from people who cover media. And that's what I'm going off of and comfortable talking about. And that's for, Jake to address whenever or if he wants to address that. He's got his YouTube and he does a lot of other stuff, and he's, working on some other radio stuff. So, the Wheelhouse is no more as it used to be, but we're all, headed into doing something that we really, really love and enjoy, which is what we did for the vast majority of the time on the Wheelhouse. So appreciate the question. By the way, if you hadn't noticed, Super Chats cut the line. They go to the top of the question charts. And I try to get to as many of these questions as I can. And let me fire through some of these earlier ones that I didn't get to. Terrence asked, do you think we draft a wide receiver in the first round next year? Certainly if Nico Collins, Robert Woods don't work out and players like that, don't get to that level, certainly wide receiver is a position that you would go after. Every wide receiver on the team is set to be on the team next year with the exception of Noah Brown. Tank Dell being his second year, John Metchie being his third year, Xavier Hutchinson being his second year, Nico being his final year of his rookie deal, and Robert Woods be on the second year of his 2-year contract. So in theory, if everyone plays well, you bring back those 5 guys. Maybe you add somebody to, push one of them. But in theory, you bring back those 5 guys if they all play well. If somebody doesn't play well, then wide receiver is going to be near the top of the list. Brandon, how does the interior O-line look out there on the edge in the zone scheme? Haven't seen much of it in preseason. I do feel like this is one of the elements that they're kind of holding back on. They're not unleashing the full power of the rushing attack just yet. I do feel like that is definitely something that they have held back on purpose. They've got the dudes to do it. Like that's what Kenyon Green does pretty well, actually, at this point. The pass blocking is my concern for Kenyon Green. It's not the run blocking. It's the pass blocking that I'm worried about with Kenyon Green. Shaq Mason's a road grader. He's very good. And Scruggs is throwing some guys around a little bit too. So if you're having one with me, time to crack another one. So I'm excited to see the full outcome of this offense with that style of rushing attack. Speaking of the rushing attack, David, should we be concerned with the running back group? Haven't seen a big play how we did last preseason. I'm not worried about the running back room because, again, we just kind of talked about it. I don't feel like they've sort of executed the full potential of what they have from a rushing attack. So that's to me where I'm not super concerned about the running back. And Dameon Pierce played 13 games last year and was nearly 1,000-yard rusher. Behind that offensive line, and we all believe the offensive line's improved this year. So, we're looking at a potentially much better rushing attack. Not just like, oh, they're improved, like much better rushing attack is the potential here. So that's my thought there. I'm not worried about the running backs. I'd like a different RB3, but if you're playing RB3, you're screwed anyway most of the time. Who's got a good RB3? The Eagles? The Eagles are the only team that have a good RB3 because they have DeAndre Swift, Rashad Penny, and Kenneth Gainwell. And let me tell you, something he does do is gain well. Oh, I hate myself for that. That's bad. Jane, appreciate you weighing in. Just curious, can't wait for you to blow up. I can't blow up without you guys. So where I go, I hopefully can take everybody along for the ride. So if I'm going to blow up, I need you guys' help. The thumbs up down below, the subscriptions, telling your friends, telling your enemies, telling people that you only kind of know at work, like, hey, I watch this YouTube channel sometimes. The guy talks a lot of Texans. Maybe sometimes he's funny, He drank on the stream the other night. He was drunk a beer and a half in. You should check it out. Here's him dressed up like a stockbroker doing the stock up, stock down. We'll do stock up, stock down. Maybe an NFL version before the season gets started. Brandon, you're kind to say that. I love the Texans. I love covering the Texans, and I like to watch them as a fan, and then I like covering them for the other fans, and I try to cover them the way I would want the team to be covered. So I'm having a blast, and hopefully you guys are having a blast consuming the content. I'm concerned the Texans adding to the defense, but not O-line. I think there's some depth spots on the defense that you could get rounded out. Maybe a defensive end, maybe a different linebacker, but the defense kind of, 25-ish or so guys kind of feels pretty set to me. Some depth on the offensive line would be nice. Do you see Steven Sims making the team? That kick return in the last game was impressive. The only way I see him making the team is if they don't like Xavier Hutchinson or they find a way to stash him away, because Hutchinson feels like the type of guy that would be picked up on another team if you put him on waivers. So I'm a little worried about exposing Hutchinson to other teams because he's not guaranteed to end up on the practice squad, if you put Sims on the team. And you can't keep 7 wide receivers. That's not a good allocation of resources on this team. So despite the fact that he's had some success doing that, I don't see him currently making the 53-man roster. Funky Chorizo 69. Actually, had some chorizo for dinner. Had a little queso flamiado as a little appy for dinner. Texans need to trade the house for Marvin Harrison Jr. in next year's draft like they did for Will Anderson Jr. I don't know about all that, but if you haven't been around before to hear it, the pizza party proclamation is I will throw a pizza party. I'll provide all the pizza. I'll provide some of the beverages if the Houston Texans use the Browns selection on Marvin Harrison Jr. So I will provide a pizza party. It's the pizza party proclamation if Marvin Harrison Jr. ends up as a member of the Houston Texans via the Browns first-round pick next year. JR, is there cause from the defense based off the last preseason game that didn't look too hot? Is it on purpose? Now, here's what I would say, and JR, thank you for the super chat. If you guys do super chat, you go to the front of the line. I'll answer your question as soon as I see it. There's some positives from that defensive performance that you have to kind of dig and sift through. And I talked a little bit about this the other night. First half, 19 Miami rushes, 7 of them go for a yard, no yards, or negative yards. Yes, they gave up a 65-yard play, primarily backups in, but still players that should play a lot. So it's still concerning. And the 20-yard rush by Devin Achane on third down that, I'm not going to say Henry To'o allowed it, but To'o seems like the guy that could have made the play. That's an unacceptable play. That can't happen. To'o talked about this, as did Jonathan Grenard on Wednesday in the locker room. And they said, look, the mistakes we made are not because we don't have the talent. The mistakes we made is because we just didn't operate and execute the play the way it was supposed to be executed. So by virtue of that, we can clean this up. Like, we know the mistake we made. We're not going to make that mistake again. We'll clean this up and it won't happen again. Now, third down, that wasn't always running the football, where Tua was back there dropping dimes all over the place on third down, not being able to get off the field. That's where somebody just got to step up, make a play. That's where Hughes has got to come running off the edge, or Anderson's got to crush somebody, or a blitz from D'Amico or Burke at the right time. Someone's got to make a play, because Tua picking you apart on third down. You look at some of these quarterbacks that you're facing over the course of the season. I mean, Lamar's already incredibly difficult to defend on third down because he's got the mobility, but you just think about the rest of what you have this season. You got Trevor Lawrence, that if you give him time, he will pick you apart. I don't believe in Kenny Pickett, but Kenny Pickett is a nice player so far in the preseason. He might get you. You think about Carr against New Orleans this year. That's a guy that if you give him time will annihilate you. Joe Burrow in November. You got Lawrence again, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. Like, there's some quarterbacks that should kick your butt on third down. Now, the big positive here is you get Anthony Richardson in week 2. That's not a guy that should kill you on third down. Again, I don't believe in Kenny Pickett, so he shouldn't get you on third down. Desmond Ridder, week 5 against Atlanta. That should not annihilate you on third down. Like, you should have some success on third down against a lot of these quarterbacks early on in the schedule, and hopefully you don't have them sitting back dicing you up on third down like Tua did in that game. I'm not super worried about the rush defense. I'm not choosing to believe something that's not there. I believe there is plenty to clean up. So I'm not super worried about that. I am worried about the third downs and just, a little bit of a lack of pass rush. That was a backup Miami Dolphins offensive line. So, a little bit more pass rush. Maybe we see it in those first 1 or 2 series against New Orleans. Wouldn't it be nice to have Will Anderson off the edge and just eat Derek Carr? That'd be great. JR, appreciate you for the super chats tonight, man. Thank you. It's very, very generous. Very generous, and I greatly appreciate that. El Mario, should we add Jarvis Landry, or is he still available? Slot guy, Tank Dell, Noah Brown, the versatility that Robert Woods has. You're good at slot. I don't believe Jarvis Landry adds much to the equation. Arthur says we should sign Dalton Reisner. The rumor is that Dalton Reisner is a tough teammate. That's the rumor. I haven't confirmed that firsthand. I don't know anybody that can confirm that firsthand. That's just the rumor I've heard swirling around, is that Dalton Reisner is a tough teammate. That's all I really want to say about that. Christian, would you trade Dameon Pierce and a first for Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman? No. I would not. Yeah, Green's got out there a couple times. He's throwing a guy out of the club here or there. There's, again, little stuff for Kenyon Green. He's not going to be damn Quentin Nelson overnight, but he's got to get incrementally better in the next few weeks, because let me tell you what, we saw it last year when elite defensive tackles showed up on the schedule. Kenyon Green showed up on those guys' highlight reels. So, by the way, Baltimore's always got a good defense. Pittsburgh's always got a good defense. Atlanta's got a solid interior defensive line. The Panthers have a solid interior defensive line. The Bucs have a solid interior defensive line. Cincinnati. Denver's got some new faces there. New York's nasty. Jeffrey Simmons twice in 3 weeks. Like, Kenyon's got to get it rolling. I didn't even DeForest Buckner, week 2. Like, Kenyon's got to be trending in the right direction really fast, or that could be a really weak spot in this offensive line. I'm looking forward to Slowick's offense wide open and humming. Rick, you and me both. I also owe you an email, Rick. I apologize for not getting to that just yet. AJ, please make some merch for your show, man. I'd buy. What do you guys want? You guys want, I mean, I just got to find a way to get you guys, stickers I like stickers probably more than most people. I just like putting crap on crap. Like my water bottle's a giant, it's just, there's no color to it. There's no designs, so having some cool stuff to stick on there, so like I got the stickers, the era of good vibes. That's what D'Amico has brought us here. The era of good vibes. But like, what do you guys want? You guys want hats? You guys want, what would we make? I don't have a logo I want to slap on there for you guys. I'm not asking you guys to buy a logo. By the way, got a new logo for the regular season. We got the Houston football, just the little H and the F. I just made it in Canva. Got a new logo coming. Let me know what you'd put in the comments here, or in the comments if you're watching after the fact. What would you buy? What do you want? And I'll put, we do shirts. I'll put them on some quality stuff, man. I don't like these, I don't like these thin, crappy shirts that, people give out for promo stuff. I'll put some nice shirts there together. And I'll get some fat boy sizes too, because you know what? I'm a fat boy. So I get some fat boy sizes. And so I'm like 10 minutes behind on the comments. So I'll get to those comments here in just a second. Couple of these other ones here. We'll speed through them. Slowick hasn't opened up the playbook yet from Johnny. The running game will hopefully help out the pass block situations. Yeah, that's something that I think is an ecosystem that helps that offensive line. When they run the ball better, they're gonna be able to pass the ball better and run block better as well. That's sort of my hope and thought about finally running the ball better. So hopefully it's like a little, ecosystem that they create for themselves. All right, let's see here. Okay, merch. Yeah, Joe Blue, appreciate. Yeah, the little thumbs up button. Hey, for my birthday present, hit the thumbs up. Over under 19.5 passing touchdowns for Stroud. I'll go over. I will have a Texans betting conversation article, and then we'll do some betting stuff here on the channel before the regular season starts. Next week and leading up to Baltimore is going to be a lot of preview stuff. Brandon, I live in Mass. I know how many people I can push your channel to. Hey, if you push it to one extra person, I'd be happy for you. Man, I wanted to see more of Valladay, even though Boone looked pretty good. Yeah, Valladay got the axe there in the middle. Joe Blue, Totino's. I don't know what this is in reference to, but can I tell you a funny Totino's story? So I was back from college one summer, and I was hanging out at my buddy's house, and we'd had a few cold pops, and we made us some pizza rolls and some frozen pizza, and I was cutting a promo. Sometimes when I have a couple of beverages in me, I'm a big pro wrestling fan. I start cutting a promo. And I start cutting a promo on the pizza. Well, up to that point in my life, I thought it had been called Tostinos, Tostinos, Tostinos. And I'm cutting that promo. I got me a slice of pizza in my hand. And my buddy's mom slides open the door behind me and she goes, "First of all, you're too loud. Second of all, you're an idiot. Third of all, it's Totino's. And I was bright red, embarrassed, and the promo was over. But yeah, they do make good pizza rolls and frozen pizza. I can't for sure say he's going to be on the team. I would say he's running back 4 if they keep 4. I can't for sure say that he's on the team, though. AR Platinum, appreciate you jumping in. Everybody check out AR Platinum's channel here on YouTube. He is my version of ASMR. Just throw him on, watch him do scratchers, get some work done around the house. Kind of very soothing. Appreciate AR Platinum swinging by. Corey, love the Texans have been a fan since 2012. What do you think the reason DeMeco Ryan says energy wore out throughout the game, besides obvious fatigue? Sometimes guys just get you get tight, you put too much into it, and you can sort of have that big energy dump before a game, and then you kind of get exhausted. On top of, I mean, look, man, they did some padded practices. They played a preseason game. They came back, did some padded practices, had joint practices, had a game. And by that time, I feel like, again, outside in 100+ degree heat for a couple of days, it just seems like it caught up to them a little bit. I was actually sitting there talking with Mark Vandermeer, voice of the Texans, today, and we were talking about, and I asked him, I was like, Vandy, you've been around the team a long time. Did practicing in the heat have any advantage to these guys? He's like, no, actually. He's like, you might think oh, okay, they practice in the heat, maybe their stamina is a little bit better at the beginning of the year or something. He's like, I really think it's just totally a net negative, but that's the challenge of what you have to do. There's not enough room in the bubble to go in there and practice the way you need to practice and the way you want to practice. So you have to practice outside. Glenn asked a good question. Who do you think has the biggest learning curve between CJ, DeMeco, and Slowick? Lots of rookies. Stroud. DeMeco Ryan said something really cool on Wednesday. He said the play call is just an avenue to have the player showcase his skills. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit. And he didn't mean to say, hey, the play call doesn't matter. I know that's kind of the way he said it, but the player has to execute. So the player has to see. The play is designed to go a certain way. The player has to see if the play is going a certain way. How does he do it? So it's CJ. I mean, CJ has the toughest job of anybody in this organization. He's got to take that snap, figure out what to do with the ball, and do it. And he's got to do that in 3 seconds or somebody tries to rip his head off. Cody, have you seen signs that Titus Howard will be ready for week 1? So Titus Howard went from surgery to a brace type around his left hand to a cast to no cast. Monday, DeMeco Ryan said he liked the progress that Titus Howard has made. And then today, Titus Howard was in a cast again. So I don't know exactly how all that's going. The way DeMeco talked about Titus made me feel like week 1 was a much more possible than I had initially anticipated. But it may just be, not wanting to kind of, not wanting to put a guy in a, hey, he's got to come back situation. Or, I don't know. He talked pretty positively about him, but he didn't say oh, he's coming back week 1. That's not necessarily how it went. I feel like we shouldn't have passed on Hopkins. This lack of weapons on offense will be the team's downfall. Upgrading our QB is nice, but Dell and Schultz aren't taking us to the playoffs. If you're thinking about the playoffs this year, man, it's maybe a little too early for that. I saw, I think it was one of the NFL Network guys. He put out a graphic with the Texans with 7 wins and the Jaguars with 9 wins this season. And that was pretty, it's pretty close. You think about that. Like, oh man, a couple more games break their way, they're in the playoffs. Like, I'm not thinking about the playoffs yet this year. Expectations change. This team turns out to be much better than we expect it to be. And hey, all of a sudden you change your expectations in the middle of the season. But right now I'm not thinking about the playoffs. Yes, I was in the camp of DeAndre Hopkins should be here. He would help everybody. He'd make everybody's job easier. It's going to have to be a village. They do not have a superstar offensive player whose primary job is to catch the ball. So that they have got to be a stud by committee, so to speak. Martin H495, good morning from Germany. Love the content, Cody. Martin, appreciate you checking us out all the way in Germany. Rick wants hats. I do like hats. I probably would not do trucker hats. I don't love trucker hats, but I do love a little, I do love a little stretchy hat, or a good fitted hat, good hats. AR Platinum, I'll be on the lookout for that. Any merch that not just a logo in a corner, any merch would be awesome. Yes. All right, I'll start putting some stuff together. Brandon, Stoots needs his own barbecue sauce. I don't know about all that. I'm content to try everybody else's barbecue sauce. You guys heard about this W sauce? Y'all seen this? Hold on, I got some for my birthday. Hold on. It's supposed to be like the new hot Worcestershire sauce, or as sometimes people call it, wash your sister sauce. It's supposed to be like the hot new thing going. Bunch of my buddies who are, barbecue grilling guys are all like, oh man, like you got to try this. So Mama Stoots hooked it up, grabbed me a bottle. Probably start with some chicken, put it on some chicken. That feels like a pretty good opportunity to find out if it tastes worth a crap. Start with some chicken. You guys seen this W sauce? Siraj, appreciate you checking in, man. AJ says, shirts, stickers, hats, something repping H-Town supporting your channel. All right, I'll put some stuff together. Hat's the thing that gets popped up in here the most. Stoots stout beer. Man, I'm a light beer guy, man. I don't like that fancy, flavorful stuff, I like the light stuff. I will fire up a heavy stout when it gets real cold, though. I was in Minnesota in 2018 for the Super Bowl. Just Radio Row, wasn't there for the game. And it's the coldest I've ever been in my life. The wind chill was like minus 20 or something, and I was only wearing one pair of pants. And I like to froze my little Stootsies off. And I have like a distant cousin up there. My mom was like, can you please go meet your distant cousin and she'll show you around town? And I was like, okay. And she's showing me around town, but she's used to it and layered up. And we're walking around in downtown Minnesota, like the outdoor NFL experience. I'm freezing to death. We stop in this little pub, this little British pub. She's like, oh, they got the best fish and chips in the world. I'm like, cool, fire it up. I need something to warm me up. And the bartender was like, hey, I got the perfect beer for you. He brought me out the darkest. It looked like a glass of oil. And I was like, glug, 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 glug. I was like, oh, this is great. He's like, you can't have another one. I was like, why? He's like, oh, ABV, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, you sure? Because I could use another one. It's warmed me up nice and good. You should do a Texans record prediction going game by game. Cameron, you're reading my mind. That will happen. That will happen before the regular season. Sean G, if you had a small staircase, you could sell some on the stoop with Stoots merch. I unfortunately do not have a small staircase, but I guess I could, borrow stairs somewhere. I can use a sticker from my toolbox at work. All right. This might be a financially foolish endeavor. If you want a sticker, put it in the email, sticker, and I'll send you guys one. CodyStoots@gmail.com. I'll put those out and then I'll figure out a way to send them. What's a stamp cost? 40-something cents plus the envelope. Maybe I ask you guys to Venmo me $1 or something. I don't know. We'll figure out the sticker thing. Maybe we'll do other merch and then the stickers will be a bonus. I don't know. Maybe we'll get more stickers and it's worth it to actually, send $1 for a sticker. I don't know. A Stoots Stout sounds like okay. You guys gonna get me on stout beer? Like, do I need to go talk to the Carbach people, the St. Arnold people, the Buffalo Bayou Brewing people, the Platypus Brewing people, the Insert You Brewery here people? Do a little Stoots Stout. If I have a Stoots Stout and we throw a pizza party, I mean, I don't know that totally fits, but we'll get some Stoots Stout at the party. Rick, if Slowick system is what I think it will be, that is doable for sure. I don't remember what Rick might be referencing. Sorry, I get behind on these comments. I'll do better one day. Have you thought about creating a pick'em league on Yahoo for the Houston football subs? Great idea. Great idea, Jim. I almost said great idea, Dim. Great idea, Jim. I'm going to write that down right now, actually, so I don't forget it. A pick'em for YouTube and Houston football. Okay, great idea, Jim. We'll put a TBD prize for the winner. Would you sign up for 7 and 10 right now? Yeah, I would. Koozy's great for a conversation starter at get-togethers. Okay. That dang sauce from Goon Squad. Okay, I'll have to search that one out, Mario. Stoots literally had that sauce on deck. Yeah, it did. I had it within arm's reach. I was looking at it a minute ago. Rick wants a taste test. All right. It's the first ever. That's the first ever taste test in the channel's history. Probably should have. Oh my goodness, it smells incredible. I give it a little shaky here. All right, Rick wants a taste test of the W sauce. It smells like Worcestershire, like kicked up to like 10. Like kicked up a notch. Here we go. Oh man. That's whoa, that's really good. Oh, I cannot wait to put that on a chicken breast or a chicken thigh. Get that seared off in a cast iron. Oh my goodness, that's going to be good. All right, let's see if I can do my best Food Network thing. See, I love the Food Network. You're not supposed to just say something's delicious. You're supposed to talk about it, describe it. So it's a little bit thicker than your typical Worcestershire sauce. So it coats a little bit differently than if you just had some Worcestershire sauce. You could use that as a dipping sauce. That'd be very good. It's a lot stronger than Worcestershire sauce, probably because of the thicker nature of the sauce. But it's got a little bit layered flavors to it. So you get sort of that sweetness early on, and then you get sort of that tang, vinegary, it's not a word, flavor late. W sauce gets a early thumbs up, But let's see how it's tastes on food a little bit later. She got it at Academy. So I know they're at Academy. Epic Tree. Lying in bed, eating waffles, and talking Texans. Perfect Wednesday evening. Yeah. I mean, does it get better than that? I don't know. I don't think so. What can you tell us about the new uniform and or colors if there is a change? I know there's going to be a hope that they've satisfied as many people as possible with the alterations. And the NFL gives you four uniforms, and I don't believe you're getting 4 different colors of the same uniform. And that's all I can really put together. Epic Tree, this is a good question about these. I would like to, and I need to go through with this, I would like to take the audio of these as well as put some exclusive audio together and put it on the Houston football website. There's a way to do that. The Substack app lets you run the podcast through there. So I may have to do that. I may have to do that here in the near future. I know we're not in the playoff hunt this year, but we're going to get a number 1 wide receiver sooner rather than later. We know what Nico is. We know that Woods, Noah Brown are. Kim Casario on the hot seat. Yes, hold his feet to the fire, man. It's definitely something that's on the wish list in the next year is the wide receiver 1. How about some Stoots suits? Just a Texans t-shirt, simple khaki shorts, and a bucket hat. Somebody was like, you never know what you can and can't get sponsored, but someone was like, hey man, you got to get the training camp fit sponsored next year. And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, you got to get like a sponsor for the bucket hat or a sponsor for like the sunglasses or something like that. I was like, actually not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Next year, I'd like to do some content from the field, maybe with some of the players, post practice. That's kind of the hope there. Oh man, making me want some W sauce, potential sponsor. Man, I think this stuff's flying off the shelves. They may not need my help, but I bet you I got a clip from a video I could send them. Why are there not a lot of options besides Hopkins to be wide receiver 1? Yeah, this was one of the worst free agent wide receiver classes in a long time. Like Jacoby Myers was one of the best players. Robert Woods was actually one of the best available free agent wide receivers. He's on this team. Here's the dirty little secret about wide receiver 1s. You don't draft them. You develop them. I mean, think about who the best wide receivers in all of football are. Jamar Chase got drafted. Justin Jefferson got drafted. Yeah, I understand Tyreek Hill's on the Dolphins now. They traded a ton to go get him. And before that, he was drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. Like Devontae Adams, again, drafted by the Packers, then the Raiders traded for him. Same with A.J. Brown, drafted, traded for. Stephon Diggs, drafted, traded for. Like, they don't hit free agency, so it's tough to get them. I mean, just going down the top receivers from last year. Jefferson drafted, Hill, Adams, Brown, Diggs. The next 4 guys, all traded for. All went for a first-round pick and then some. I think that's right. CeeDee Lamb drafted. Jalen Waddle drafted. Travis Kelce drafted. Devontae Smith drafted. Terry McLaurin drafted. Amon-Ra St. Brown drafted. So, like, out of the top 11 pass catchers, 7 of them were drafted by their team. Like, Mike Evans at 13 every year. Every year he's near the top, over 1,000 yards, drafted. Like, Christian Kirk was the 14th in receiving yards last year. You You signed him in free agency. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, you massively overpaid. He'll never live up to the contract, but you kind of needed him because you had drafted poorly. Laviska Shenault didn't turn into a good player for them. So you draft wide receiver ones. That's why next year's draft that is wide receiver heavy, not heavy, but like there's going to be some wide receiver options next year that are really intriguing. It starts with Marvin Harrison Jr., but Xavier Worthy at Texas, Marvin Harrison's teammate, whose name escapes me right now, like Malik Neighbors at LSU. Like there's some dudes next year that are not going to be, the top of the cream of the crop that are going to be nice players right away. So, and look, this year it's going to be wide receiver by committee. It's going to be wide receiver by committee. David, I feel like we need some better O-linemen. The depth's got to get better. Yeah. The depth's got to get better for sure. They need a little bit more depth. Okay. Housekeeping as we wrap this sucker up here. We want to look into merch. Hats primarily is what people said. So we'll look into hat merch. What kind of hats? Huh? What kind of hats? Like trucker hats or? Yes. The other wide receiver on the Ohio State this year. So Sean wants bucket hats. Well, it's not out of the question. Stoots. All right, so we're going to work on some hats. We've talked in the past about some raffle items. I know you guys have talked about gift cards maybe. Would you guys want I'm about to read a really good book about football. It's about game management and stuff. I know the author. Would you guys want an autographed copy of the book as maybe a raffle item? That's something to think about. And plenty of stuff coming on Houston football. Don't want to miss out on that. So www.houfootball.com. Lots to get to. Lots of preview stuff coming up. Lots of preview stuff coming up on the YouTube. So plenty of stuff to get through on that. Got a couple more days till the weekend. The preseason game will be interesting for, about a quarter or so, and then that's mostly backups at that point. But hey, those guys are fighting for their roster spots. It'll be a fun watch there. And then after that, it's sort of that dead space, sort of college football's ramp-up week, and then boom, Labor Day gets here, and then it's NFL season time, and we're having a blast. So appreciate everybody weighing in. Thank you, everybody, for the birthday wishes. That was awesome, and appreciate all that. Appreciate the support here on the channel, as well as the website, Houston Football. So thank you for that, and really enjoy talking Texans with y'all late night. And for the folks that are catching this after the fact, if you're still watching, thank you. We'll get some earlier in the day live streams from time to time too. So we're not just a night owl here on this channel, but we finish up every show that's a live show the same way. It's my charge to you. It's my hope to you as well. Jeffrey knows it. Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon.